We are officially past the halfway mark of the 2026 conference season, and it's just now heating up. It's just now getting good. We are ready to find out who is really going to separate themselves in ASUN play as we make that push towards the tournament. This is another episode of the ASUN Gameday podcast, and on the women's side, I think it's very clear. There's not much discussion. That separation has been made at this point by EKU. The Colonels are sitting at 10-0 right now with 8 games left in conference play. And I think, just in my opinion, that everything kind of goes through them. They are in the perfect position right now. They are 10-0. The next team in the standings on the women's side is 7-3, West Georgia. But they've got that win against West Georgia already. The Colonels are in position to be, I think, the regular season champion and probably the number 1 seed in the tournament. I think that they went on the road. Obviously, they handled business, as we mentioned, at West Georgia, then at Queens. It did what they had to do. And that has been just the story week after week when we talk about EKU. It's no different. This has been going on for a while. I think the expectation, obviously, I'm assuming from that, I hadn't talked to anybody there, but I'm assuming the expectation for them is to continue this trend. Certainly from my vantage point, I think that they are the team to beat clearly at 10-0, but they are efficiently, and they're getting it done. And it's not I think they're winning these games in a way that it's not a question about if EKU is the better team on the floor. I think they are kind of putting their stamp on it and very confidently winning these games. I mean, 74-59 against Queens, 68-55 against West Georgia, 88-54 against North Florida, 82-63 against Jacksonville. I think that the closest game, if you look in conference play, came against a matchup that we kind of thought would be a close game, was the game against Lipscomb, 69-60. They also won 64-54 against Central Arkansas. But other than that, for the most part, and the North Alabama game, 80-78, that was the closest one, 2-point game as I'm looking at the schedule right here. But I think that was early on. They're finding their stride, and EKU. I think I'm standing on that they have separated themselves. And once you get past EKU at 10-0, and you look in the standings, you got a lot of teams there that are on the women's side that are kind of close. I mean, you've got 73 West Georgia. You got a handful of 6-4 teams: Jacksonville, Stetson, and FGCU. North Alabama 5-4. They've got to make up that game to get up to catch up with the amount of games played what everyone else has. You got Austin Peay at 5-5, Lipscomb at 5-5, Central Arkansas at 4-5. I mean, North Florida at 3-7 and Queens at 2-8. That's still, 2-8 Queens. That's still only 4 games from Jacksonville, who is a team 6-4 that's tied for third right now. So I think once you get past EKU, again, that separation that they've got there, and then you got a lot of teams that they're kind of they're beating up on each other underneath, and I think that makes it very interesting to see because let's say just me guessing out, EKU holds on and locks up that one. Well, what do you have after that? Obviously, West Georgia has gotten some great wins. They are in second place by themselves right now, 7-3. But then, again, those teams I named before that you look at Jacksonville, you look at a Stetson, you look at Austin Peay, who is amazing on the road and just can't win at home for whatever reason. I know those were tight games they had with North Florida and Jacksonville last week. I mean, easily Austin Peay could be sitting here 7-3 right now as well. So I think that just shows that outside of just these teams seeing each other, playing each other, being in the conference, it's so tight every week in and week out. You kind of don't know what you're going to get on, and I think that makes it exciting. It makes it kind of interesting to try to pick and decide who's going to be what and try to guess out because you just don't know. Teams are really playing well, and that gets you that excitement each week going into it. So, I mean, again, on the women's side, I think that separation has been there, and then you've got a lot. I think it's a little different when you turn to men's. I think there's still that sort of 4 at the top: Austin Peay, Lipscomb, Central Arkansas, and Queens. Then there's another group of teams underneath them. I think, obviously, on the men's side, we got to talk about Austin Peay. They're on their 4-game winning streak right now. I think the 4-game winning streak that they're on now, in my opinion, I think they've played better since they took that loss to Lipscomb in this stretch after that. I think that kind of lit a fire, so to speak, in that team, and they've kind of been on it since that loss to Lipscomb on the road there, and they've got that 4-game winning streak. Obviously, big game coming up that we'll talk about with Lipscomb. But Austin Peay is in the position right now, sitting at 9-1. They can start to, I guess, put themselves in position because ultimately, obviously, you want to be number one. You want to be the regular season champion going into the tournament, but you also want to, with this format that we're in now, you want to go straight to VyStar. You want that bye. You don't want to have to play on campus and play on Tuesday or Wednesday for the men. You want to get the bye, go to VyStar, be one of those top 4 seeds. And at 9-1 right now, Austin Peay is in a good position to hold on to one of those byes because when you look at outside of the top 4, you're at West Georgia, who's 4-6 right now. So, right now, Austin Peay with a 5-game lead on the 4th place team. They're in a good spot to get a bye. And so are several of these teams that are in this top 4 that I talked about. I think that Central Arkansas deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, they've earned it. As good as Austin Peay has been in this stretch, I think Central Arkansas has been just as good, if not better, possibly. I think that they deserve to be at the top of everybody's list, and they deserve to be on everybody's board as you're looking at teams. Central Arkansas, I think, been mentioning them for a few weeks now, kind of wondering, is this real? Is this are they actually this team? I think actually they are this team. I think Cameron Hunter, a guy who put up numbers a few years ago in the ASUN, left and is back in Conway now. He is, I think, a solid candidate for Player of the Year when all is said and done. And I think he drives that UCA team. Obviously, they have a team. John Shulman has got a squad out there at UCA. But I think that it's no longer a question about, if or wondering what this is. I think that this is a 7-2 team that is got some games coming up. They've got North Alabama first, and then they have a game against Lipscomb, and we could be potentially, depending on how this week goes, they could be the number 2 team in the standings right now. I mean, they could be – there's a world where they're tied for first when all is said and done a week from now when we're looking at things. So I think that question mark should be erased next to Central Arkansas's name because they have put in the work and have proved that they are a solid team. And on the men's side, I think there are some dark horses. I think teams that I feel like are about to maybe put something interesting together here. The first one of those teams is a team that I kind of didn't have a question mark on. I kind of wondered. But I think looking at their schedule, they have a stretch here that I think they can put some wins together and be in a solid spot. That's FGCU. A team always plays hard. You look at that 4-6 record, and you maybe think that there's some games in there that they should probably have gotten wins in, some matchups that you thought would have been more favorable for the Eagles. But I think that looking ahead at what they have, I think there's a chance that they could definitely make a push here later in conference play as we get ready just a few weeks away from the beginning of the tournament. Another team is Bellarmine. I think that Bellarmine has surprised some people. Again, another team, when you look at the record, 4-6. But that 4-6 record doesn't have them where they're not at the bottom. I mean, they're solidly in the middle there at 4-6, right outside of the top 4. And I think that that's probably not where people thought Bellarmine would be. And when I say people, I'm talking about looking back at the coaches poll, the media poll, the preseason, when everybody was an expert back in October before any games had been played. Now we're here in February and we're looking at things. And I think that Bellarmine has a chance to throw a wrench in what people thought would be their plan when it comes to that team. They played hard all year. They were part of the highest scoring game in ASUN history against North Florida. They did lose that game, but I think that is the level of intensity that the Knights are bringing, and they're pushing teams, and that's what it takes at this point in the season. That's that extra effort that gets you a win. And when we're talking about that first week of March, when all the teams are down here in Jacksonville, pushing yourselves to a few wins, and next thing you know, you're in the semis or the championship final, and now you just got to do it one more time. I think that's where Bellarmine could be, and I do want to see what they're able to pull out. So, obviously, a lot of exciting things have already happened in the season. We've got a lot more on deck and a lot more in store for this episode of the ASUN Game Day podcast. So, we'll be right back from a quick break and talk about some of our key matchups.
Welcome to the Atlantic Sun, where heart-pounding moments are born and where champions rise above, where speed defies limits and precision finds its mark, where millions of fans nationwide cheer for excellence, determination, and fairness, where public, private, and faith-based schools compete side by side, fostering sportsmanship and unity. From the beaches to the mountains, the Atlantic Sun is the destination.
It's now time to dive into some key matchups this week. And first, Stetson at Bellarmine. I've already talked about Bellarmine, how I think that they're a team that is pushing everybody they step on the court with this season. And I think that they can keep that momentum going with the win at home against Stetson. And the Hatters are also this is one of those games where obviously every game is important, but I think both of these teams could use this win. You've got both of these teams sitting at 4-6 right now. Again, trying to close that gap against to get into the top four, possibly get a bye. This is one of those games that these teams need, and I think it's going to be a big one. Also on Thursday, Jacksonville at Queens. Got to be honest, the Royals are sliding a little bit from where they were just a few weeks ago, and they're back at home where they have been solid this season. And Jacksonville is always a team that you just kind of wonder what they will do on the road. In their building, they're tough in Swisher. On the road, can be a different story. But this game, we've already seen it already. It's happened once. It happened in Jacksonville. And obviously want to see if Queens can, whatever's going on, if Queens can figure that out. And this is around the time when Jacksonville, Jordan Mincy and that squad, they always seem to get things rolling and they get that push going into the tournament. It's about that time to see if Jacksonville starts to flip the switch and if Queens can figure things out. So those are two games that I'm looking at on the men's side this week. I want to see what happens. On the women's side, also on Thursday, Austin Peay at North Alabama. The Govs are back on the road where they've been unbeatable this season, which is amazing. It's very interesting that on the road that they are so dominant, and then at home it's a different story, more challenging for them to win. They're facing off against a UNA team that probably arguably had its best win in the program's history. So UNA trying to build. I think UNA has been back and forth on, each week. And Austin Peay back on the road where that is their strong suit. Got that game circled. And then on Saturday, speaking of that UNA historic win, and win obviously came against FGCU. And on Saturday, the Eagles are going to be hosting Jacksonville on the women's side. And I think that I know Jacksonville has West Georgia on Thursday, FGCU has Bellarmine, not looking past those games, but I think that is a big game, and I think a little bit more so for Jacksonville, just my opinion. I think if Jacksonville is to be taken really seriously, I think you go to Fort Myers and you get that win on the road at FGCU. It's not an easy place to do that. We have seen two teams a few weeks ago, Austin Peay and Lipscomb, went into that building and did win. But obviously FGCU is not going to be going for that. So that's another thing, too. It's still FGCU. Again, until that team is not playing anymore, I'm not signing any checks. I I need to see them not playing basketball. It's still FGCU women's basketball. So I think that will be a game for Jacksonville to go down there and get that win. Will be pretty big this season for the Dolphins. Power rankings time. Got some changes this week. I will start with women's basketball, women's power rankings. Number one, it's not very surprising. It's CKU, 10-0. Don't know how any other team could be there. But you can have your own power rankings, so don't let me influence you. Number two on the women's side is Jacksonville. 3 in a row right now, power rankings. I think they're playing well. Now, 3 is West Georgia. There's a game between West Georgia and Jacksonville, so my mind could instantly be changed tomorrow when that game takes place. But 3 is West Georgia. 4 is Stetson. I think that Stetson is I never thought that Stetson would be out of the mix, but it's just the ebbs and flow of the season. It's just up and down with some teams. But Stetson is 4. North Alabama is 5. Coming off of that win against FGCU, I know they did lose the prior game. Another one of those teams. It's just the challenges of a season. Conference play as long is tough. 2 a week against teams that you're facing off against repeatedly. And I think that North Alabama right now is – talked about this a few weeks ago. This is the time where I wanted to see what this team really could be. But right now I do have them 5. 6 in the power rankings right now is FGCU. Slipped a bit because of the losses, but they're still in the top half, and I'm, again, not writing them off by any means right now. On the men's side, number 1, 9-1, Austin Peay. I think that is it's a safe bet. 2 is Central Arkansas. 5-game winning streak, longest streak on the men's side right now. 3 will be Lipscomb. I think the Bisons, they're still at those are the 3. 4 right now, power rankings. Teams that are playing well. I've kind of spoiled this a little bit. This Bellarmine right now, they're my number 4 team. I just think right now they've got confidence going, and if you got a good team that wants to win and you give them a little bit of confidence, you might have a problem. Number 5 is a team I also mentioned that I kind of put in that same boat, FGCU. I think that they start to figure some things out and they start to feel like they can go out there and beat anybody. Then they start to beat everybody. Possibly. We'll see. We'll see. Got 8 more games to go and then a tournament to get through. Number 6 is Queens. Queens is not out of the top 6 for me, but they have dropped a bit, losing 3 in a row. Wondering what's going on. I think they can obviously turn it around. You look at how good that team was. Lose a few games. Again, talked about it several times. Mentioned it's a long season. You're not going to win everything, but I think Queens is still one of the best teams in the conference despite the last few weeks. Those are the power rankings. One more quick break, and we'll be back with our ASUN matchup of the week. It is now time to talk about the ASUN matchup of the week. And this week, I took the easy way out. I took the game that's happening later today, and it's Lipscomb at Austin Peay. I think it was the easy game to pick. This is a game that we saw a few weeks ago, and now we're getting the rematch, part 2. And I think this checks all the boxes for what we would want for an ASUN matchup of the week. You've got number 1 versus number 2 in the standings. You've got 2 teams that are close geographically, so the fan bases will travel. You've got 2 programs with history of competing against each other, and that is one-sided history because, to be honest, Austin Peay has not beat Lipscomb in men's basketball in a while. They're trying to reverse the curse, so to speak, and get that win that's been eluding them. They couldn't get it a few weeks ago in Nashville. They've got a chance to get it tonight in Clarksville, F&M Bank Arena, a place where the Govs are 9-0 this season playing at home. So you've got a lot of historical things. Also be trying to get the win, also be trying to remain undefeated at home. Lipscomb trying to give Austin Peay that second loss. Austin Peay's coming into this game 9-1 in conference play. That one is Lipscomb. Another win by Lipscomb puts them in first place in the standings, puts them in position to have the number 1 seed and potentially have the regular season championship solely theirs. Same thing for Austin Peay. If you can hand Lipscomb another win, now you've extended your lead at the top of the standings. You've split the season series with Lipscomb. And I think that's just you kind of add all that in, and it's a recipe of an exciting game for several different reasons, not just in that area it's not a cross-town rivalry, but they're fairly close. But, Clarksville, Nashville. And I think that these two teams have been two of the better teams throughout the entire season, going all the way back to non-conference play. We've been talking about Austin Peay and Lipscomb, and I felt that there's a chance that how this thing shakes out, our regular season champion, our 1 seed, all those things would come down to those two teams in some form or fashion. It may come down to these two games that these two teams have played. So again, our ASUN matchup of the week takes place tonight, F&M Bank Arena, Austin Peay hosting Lipscomb. Should be another good one. The first one didn't disappoint, so my expectations are high for this one. But that is the ASUN matchup of the week. This has been the ASUN Game Day podcast. I'm William Hall, signing off. We'll see you next week.